Hello everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations. You're with Simon today, and we're going to be looking at another subscriber chart reading. And as always, super excited to be sharing with you my perspective, not only on the chart, but also sharing a bit of inspiration on how we actually look at an astrology chart from an evolutionary point of view. Okay, so let's have a look at what the chart is trying to tell us. And that's something I noticed a lot when actually I was teaching my students. I kept on explaining that it was really important to recognize that the chart's always telling you something. You know, there's always something in there that is revealing to you the story. You know, you've just got to look and see and identify it. So let's see if we can do that today. As always, we start with Pluto. Pluto is the bottom line of the chart. So the soul is looking to experience their way of being through their creative purpose, you know, to understand the essence of their way through, this is who I am, this is my creative process, this is my purpose, it's my destiny. I'm here to fulfill something very deep within inside of myself. You know, it's about recognition. And some of the stories that come along with Pluto in the fifth house is you may be recognized for some deep talents, and it provides you, or the Plutonian empowerment story is the step-by-step way of how you actually go about being empowered in that area, right? How you actually merge with the experiences that leads you to fulfill your destiny. Another way that this can also show up, unfortunately, is that you can be the only person in the family that has a creative manifestation or a creative interest. And because of that being the case, you find yourself not really getting validated or acknowledged. And you can find yourself in a deep cycle of need to be seen. And even having your life pursue just over, you know, being recognized, not really following purpose and destiny, but really just being in the cycle of, if I do this, then I'll be seen. If I do this, then I'll be recognized. If I do this, then my worth will be done. Okay, so Pluto in the fifth house in Scoprio says that, karmically speaking, this is also about a deep empowerment cycle. You know, it's about getting deeply in touch with what is your path to empowerment. The planetary ruler of your Pluto is Pluto itself. And when you take the energy of Scorpio and Leo together, this is the fusing of the heart, you know, getting into the core of your being. So the question I would ask you is, how do you feel when you're in committed relationships? Do you notice that there is a deep bonding or merging going on where you feel recognized for your love that you offer or provide? Or have you experienced a lot of abandonment of the heart and sometimes needing to shut down, being very cautious of how you open yourself up to experiences, you know? Now, let's have a look at the south node of the chart, and each subscriber chart reading is going to be different in terms of the flow. So sometimes I don't actually look at the south node all the time, but in here, we're looking at the south node in the fourth house, and the planetary ruler of the south node is Venus. Okay, so where's Venus? Venus sits in your seventh house, and it's in the sign of Capricorn. So the way that we synthesize this energy together here is we look at, firstly, what is the fourth house about? This is the nature of the home, the conditioning field, the way in which you were brought up, and what was mom and dad like, and what was their personalities like? How did you internalize the potential personalities that you had with your brother and sister, or, you know, if you had any siblings? How did you get conditioned in your early life, right? What are the memories that exist within your subconscious, and how do they allow you to feel secure in each moment, right? So with the south node being in the fourth house, there's a deep sensitivity towards the home, towards the mother, towards the nature of what is emotional nurturing, you know. And then we've got the Libra archetype, which says one of the ways that you would have identified yourself in home would have been through, was there inclusion? Was there, you know, a sense of sharing, and you know, was there balanced dynamics in your home? Or did you notice that there were extremes? You know, Libra correlates to extremes. So Did you notice a lot of extremes in your home where maybe mom was this way and dad was that way, or you felt this way about an experience and everybody else felt the other way? So you were learning a lot about comparing and contrasting the different identities that each person represented in the home. And then when we look at the planetary ruler of the 7th house, you can see here that this is Venus in Capricorn. So the indication is, what are you telling us, chart? We're seeing something about relationships and needs through the other, but then there's also even a sense of control or domination, a rigidity, a sense of this is the rules, this is how we do things, and this is how you behave, and this is what's correct and what's not correct. And then in the 4th house Libra, it says, well, maybe certain extremes were this way and maybe certain extremes were that way. Now, this is the type of way that this energy can show up. Other ways that it can show up is that both parents were deeply responsible and you felt maybe a sense of growing up and having a lot of support and structure around you on a material way, but maybe emotionally there wasn't that ability. Maybe you didn't have that emotional availability, but everything else was sort of in, the rules and regulations were implemented, but maybe not a lack of emotional depth that maybe you craved that you weren't able to have, Another way that this can show up for yourself, of course, if we look at the planetary ruler of Venus, we can see it sits in Sagittarius and it's conjunct Uranus, right? The Saturn is the planetary ruler of Venus and that's conjunct Uranus. So we can see here that from the perspective of one's own personal truth, Sagittarius, and the authority in which that truth was represented had a deep Uranian component to it, meaning that there must have been some prior lifetimes in which there was quite a lot of persecution or judgment or feelings of inadequacy around your own individuation or individuality, especially around what you believed to be true. And maybe there was a perception of, if you believe in this truth, then everything will be okay. And there's a safety and security around everything, i.e. the Capricorn always wants to create a strong foundation, a strong sort of boundary in order to play in so that there is safety in there. So maybe the rules and maybe the truths, maybe the cosmology or the belief system that the family had was around a lot of keeping everything in structure, and that specific belief system said if you treaded out of that, then there could be persecution. The persecution is the Uranian memories of, not getting it right, maybe internalized guilt, or maybe one or both parents had a specific guilt that was linked with the belief system that you were trying to break free from. Whatever it is within the context of your chart, you can clearly see that with the North Node in the 10th house Aries and its planetary ruler being Mars in the 11th house Taurus, this is a soul that needs to recognize its own values, recognize its own essential needs, and to basically initiate an entirely new direction in life that's linked with what you consider to be your truth and your values. You're clearly seeking something here in a very deep way with the sun sign in the 9th house Pisces, and maybe even trying to make a universal connection to a perception of truth that's rooted in something more compassionate instead of something that maybe represents more rigidity. So I'm super excited to hear what you actually have to say, the Patreon subscriber. Of course, there's always an invitation to write some comments on the actual chart itself or in the comments below in the YouTube. So I hope that you got a lot out of this today, everybody, and also the Patreon subscriber. Thank you very much for your support. I appreciate that. And everybody have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.